So this is one of my very favorite tricks in Bitwig Studio, and I showed you this in some of my earlier videos, but it's always good to refresh some knowledge. So here's a polymer synthesizer, and I just use here the sine partial. So nothing special, right? And you can just attach here an audio rate modulator and just grab the output of the polymer synthesizer itself and feed it back into the front of the polymer synthesizer. So you can see here the output waveform, right? So now we can modulate your things inside of the polymer synthesizer. Let's use here this phase modulation amount. So we take here the sub oscillator -1 and feed it back into the, or phase modulate here this wavetable oscillator, and we can change the amount here with this knob. Maybe put the limiter on the master here, just in case. So you can hear we get some overtones already. Right? And then we can filter here this audio output from this polymer synthesizer and get rid of some overtones, some fast modulation movements. We can also modulate now this filter here. So the interesting thing about this is that this is more or less like a feedback loop, but it's not an audio feedback, it's more like a modulation feedback. So the modulation here decides how the output sounds, and then this output goes back into the front and modulates the input. So it's a back and forth basically. So the output decides how to modulate, and then modulation decides how it sounds, and then the sound again modulates the input differently. So you get more or less interesting overtones with this. And you can do this in more subtle ways, and you can also do this in more like more prominent upfront ways, like distortion. And remember, this is just a sine wave here, right? So nothing, just a sine and some feedback. You get even nice basses with this. Let's use the monophonic, the channel selection, so you can choose from the output, right? If you want to use the side channels, if you want to use the left or the right channel, or the side channel here, right? You can also rectify it. So rectify means you only modulate basically in the positive range, not in the negative range. So it's unipolar, right? You can see it goes only up here. So rectify is basically mirroring the negative parts up to the positive parts. So yeah, you can also implement here in the FX box something like a reverb. And this also influences how the modulation is or looks like, or is then applied to the synth, right? So the more effects you put in here, maybe a chorus plus, maybe a delay at the end, I don't know, anything basically. So, and this one grabs basically the output of this whole chain here and feeds it back into the modulation pane here, and then you can modulate things. And sometimes it's too much for certain notes, so you can use a key track here. You can say you only, so when you play lower notes, you just reduce more or less here the amount. This is just the gain here. So when you play lower notes, right, we remove here a bit of gain. You can also switch the sub oscillator to 0, the octave 0, so it's not modulating with a lower octave. Or you can go 2 octaves lower. let's try out Unison here. 16 voices fed, detune it. We get very nice dystopian sci-fi movie soundtrack-like sounds, just with a bit of feedback modulation here. And I know I made a video already about this a few years ago, but it's always nice to show off these tricks, because some of you, you don't watch all my videos, and I think I only showed this once. It's a very great, actually, tip or trick to do inside of the polymer synthesizer here. You can modulate basically everything, right? And it all affects the output, and the output then affects the input. So you have to balance certain things, right? So the feedback is not, overtaking the whole sound. It's only modulating in subtle ways. So a good thing is here to modulate basically this phase modulation amount. So you take the sub oscillator and then you phase modulate here this main oscillator, or you modulate here the filter cutoff, which is nice. You can also use this here to slightly modulate the pitch or the pitch of the whole synth. This is also a good thing to do here. Maybe not too much. It's maybe good to get some atonal sounds. Yeah, this is nice. You can also switch it to a different oscillator. Let's say the sine oscillator here. And here you can modulate skew or fold. Let's try this one. In my opinion, this is so much fun just to play around with this single modulator here on a random synth inside of Bitwig Studio. It's just so much fun, and you get so much variety, different sounds out of it. You have to almost sample everything, and then you can put it later on into a sampler and use some, I don't know, textures mode on it or some granular synthesis on it. And yeah, it's a great source of great sounds, in my opinion. So try this out. This is just the audio rate modulator here. Put it in front of some of the devices, and then take the audio input here from the output. And that's it. And you can go crazy with the modulations. That's it for today. Leave a like if you liked the video. Subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.